Hi. It's Jennifer McCreath. It's Friday night, November 30th. Can't even hold the camera steady. Haven't turned the camera on for a while, which is kind of rare. Saw a very unique story in the world of sports that has caught my attention to the point I want to talk about it. The dichotomy of what's best for this team and what's best for the fans. San Antonio Spurs, professional basketball team, NBA. Not really much of a basketball fan, but I thought this was really interesting. The team is one of the best in the league. I believe their record is now 12-4, and they're in second place out of 15 in their conference. They were set up on a long road trip, 6 games in a row on the road, and I guess the games were kind of bunched together. So I guess the team decided to sit out their 4 best players for the 6th game. A road game, San Antonio at Miami, so we're talking about a game on the other side of the country. We're also talking about a marquee matchup that was going to be broadcasted on a primetime national television. Miami's also one of the top teams, so in terms of the fans, San Antonio is a team that, because they're in the West, they don't travel to Miami very often. So I believe this was the only game that San Antonio will be playing in Miami that year. So the one and only chance for the Miami fans to get a look at the San Antonio players. Obviously, the fact that they chose to sit these 4 players out was a big disappointment for the fans because they did not get to see this great matchup between the two of the best teams. Plus the television ratings, everyone, I don't know what the ratings were, but bottom line, San Antonio felt, look, it's in our best interest to rest these players and send them on a plane home so that they can prepare for, I guess, the next game. Essentially, I guess there was a double message here. One, they wanted to rest their stars because they felt that it's probably a lost cause. They felt they were going to lose to Miami anyway, so why should we waste energy when we can perhaps use some of our B division talent, our backups? They also wanted to send a message that to the league and the schedules that they weren't too pleased to be asked to play 6 games on the road in a row. And this was almost like a silent protest of sorts. In the end, they did lose the game, and only time will tell if it was the right strategy for San Antonio. Their next game, I believe, is tomorrow at home, where they will have a very well-rested group of A players. Well, the league said, we don't like this. We're fining you $250,000 because... Now, I don't know if they actually violated a policy. It's quite common in other sports to see superstars sat out, rested, in games that are considered meaningless. Most frequently in football, when teams have already clinched the playoffs, they will sit down all of their top stars in the last game or two in the season rather than risk injury. To do this early in the season, I don't agree with it, personally. I do agree with protesting the unfair road trip schedule, but you cannot afford to throw games. You're in... Herm Edwards, what did he say, 2001? You play to win the game. And if you're sitting out all your best players, you're basically saying, we don't want to win this game. We don't care if we lose. What happens if you miss the playoffs by 1 game, San Antonio? Everyone's going to point back at this little stunt. And you're a good team. You probably could have beat Miami. Even your backups. It was a close game, 105-100. Very close game. You could have beaten Miami. Oh well. Is it fair for the league to fine a team because they elect not to play certain players? Is there a moral obligation to play your best players in every game? Especially road games on television? I don't know. I used to be a marathon runner, and not that I have fans that worry about whether or not I run, but there have been occasions where I have been registered to run races and elected to cancel out at the last minute because I didn't feel I was 100% healthy for it, or I just figured, you know what, I'm not going to hit my goal, it's not worth risking injury. I can sort of sympathize, I guess, with both sides of the story. I just find it fascinating because it's not something you see or hear very often outside of the NFL. I think another comment, isn't there a moral obligation to give your best, because now you just gave Miami a free win. Now, Miami might be overrated. Maybe they're not as good as their record. What happens if Miami beats out one other team by one game to make the playoffs? That team's going to be pissed off because, well, maybe to be fair, San Antonio should sit out their players against every other team in Miami's division. If you're going to give Miami a free win, maybe you should give all those other teams a free win. I don't know. I don't like it. Put your best foot forward. If it's professional sports, we're talking about elite athletes making millions of dollars. The team is making millions of revenues. The league itself is an entity, and that team is part of that league. I agree. You let everyone down, San Antonio. Maybe if you just sat out 1 or 2 instead of 4. I don't know. Anyways, it'll be very interesting to see if San Antonio is asked to take an extended road trip in next year's schedule. Ultimately, I think you got to try to be fair. I can only imagine the hell it takes to be physically spending your life on airplanes for the whole year. It's tough to play your best when you're suffering from jet lag and living out of a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks. I think about all the runs I've done. There's a lot more to consider when you're sleeping in a hotel and spending 7 hours on an airplane the night before your big sporting event. I can totally relate to that. Much more easier to run or play basketball at your best when you've had a good night's sleep at home in your own bed. Anyway, just wanted to talk about this. Curious to hear what other people have to say. Yeah, Jennifer McCreath, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night.